Super Bowl week. We made it. The revenge possibly in store for Kyle Shanahan and the boys. Taylor Swift is going to fly in from Japan for this game. We're coming off a conference championship winner on the Pick and Power Hour. The job's not finished. This is the Super Bowl 58 show of the Pick and Power Hour, presented by Underdog Fantasy, starting right now. For the last time this season, welcome back to the PlayerProfiler Pick and Power Hour. We're your hosts, Ahaan, Rungta, and Trevor Tipton. If you are listening to the podcast version of this was uploaded the day after we're recording live. We are locking in picks live on the YouTube show. There will be no more shows this season. Nothing next week. Stay tuned in the Discord for more. We're here. We got Kayla in chat. Underworld, what is up? Trevor, just I can't do math. I'm the math major over here. 10 days? 9 days away.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Today was the 10th day. So, yeah, technically we're 9 more days. But, if you include today, it's 10.
9 days until Brock Purdy
wins
the stage in the Super Bowl, which
wins.
To me,
yeah.
To me, if you in the preseason, if you told me that the 49ers are going to be in the Super Bowl, I wouldn't have been surprised. If you told me Brock Purdy was starting the Super Bowl, I would have told you to pass some of what you're having. But we're here. We did it. We've got the potential GOAT. I would argue the best player of the NFL has ever seen versus this 49ers super team. I'm super excited. Trevor, we're coming off a winner last week. We will talk about that because we do talk about our bad losses, but we also got to celebrate the wins from time to time. And it's the last time we're able to share on our YouTube chat that we're coming off a winner last week. Weird pays, ladies and gentlemen. Weird pays. Gus Edwards higher than 4.5 receiving yards. The one catch he made, just absolute electricity in the third quarter. By the way, I have no idea, once again, what the Ravens were doing offensively. And then Justin Watson, he makes one catch for 16 yards. He makes a second catch for -3 yards, but it's called back due to a penalty. It's canceled. So, I've been preaching all season long that luck normalizes over the course of a season. We've lost so many entries by 1 yard, by a brutal one catch for dumb reasons. We deserve that one, so I'm happy to see some grit.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Anthony, thanks. Been here all season. We appreciate it. Listen, Brock got it done in the second half for us. Ayuk and Purdy finished just short for my three-piece last week. Mahomes, the over 36.5 pass attempts got us there. Again, he just keeps getting it done. Despite the lack of receivers. So, he's got Kelsey and Rice. It's not like he has nobody. But I think this is going to come down to some health for them. They took a couple hits. Omenihu, right, going down with his knee. That's a big loss on the D line for them. Gay's going to go, right? They say he's questionable, but from what I'm hearing and in the background, it's one of those he's taking a shot and some pills and he's going to try to go because it's a Super Bowl. If it's any other game besides this, I don't think Gay actually plays in this game, and I hope he doesn't injure himself real bad, right? I'm not an injury guy. I don't root for injuries. I will forever in time never understand why the Ravens did not run it down the throat at a team that gives up 4.5 yards EPA. I'll just never, when they were the best running team in the NFL this season, I will never understand what Todd Monken was thinking. And they didn't adjust. My biggest takeaway from that was they just didn't adjust. They just kept Jason. Obviously the fumble at the goal line, get knocked out. There was some stuff that could have changed that game, but that was it was a fun game to watch. And obviously my Niners, right, just didn't show up in the first half. Detroit looked great. I was not having fun in that first half of that game. I was very, very annoyed. And obviously, right, we got it done in the second half. If you've watched anything this week, some of my favorite interviews so far has been the Jed York stuff. I don't know if you've got a chance to check that out, but if you haven't, you guys go check it out. Pretty interesting when last year, Shanahan had to pull Jed York aside and tell him, he literally said, the best quarterback on our team is our third straight quarterback. So at some point he's probably going to start for us. And next thing you know, here we are. So I'm obviously excited. I'm super pumped. I actually think it's going to be a really good game. It's obviously a matchup. We all know who I'm here for, who I'm rooting for. I got a little bias here. It even annoyed me to write up some Chiefs players for this game, but I'm gonna do it. I do like winning. And we're gonna have some fun on this show. We're each gonna do a 2-pack, and we're gonna do a DGen fiver, and just go clean sweep and win all the money at the Super Bowl.
That is the plan. Again, shout out Kayla and Anthony for being in the chat. We're going to have some fun over the next half an hour or so for our last show of the season. Want to give a shout out to Jason Allwine, the content guy at PlayerProfiler. He's the absolute man. He's dogging his way in the Senior Bowl this week and makes our thumbnails, even though making the thumbnails are one of those things where it seems like an easy thing to do, and then you open up Canvas or whatever the app is, and then you're like, I don't want to do this, and Jason just does them for us. So shout out to him. Shout out to we've had multiple producers over the course of the season to get these, to put in timestamps whenever people want to watch the show back afterwards, or upload on podcast. John Adams takes care of our podcast, the FF Prez on Twitter. So shout out to everybody involved in this show. We're going to make this a great final show. Trevor covered basically all I want to say about the conference championships. And if you want to hear me get extremely passionate and, dive into a little bit more of my takeaways, then I subbed in for Wake and Take, Jason's show a few days ago. You can go back and watch that show. People had a lot of fun in chat. Honestly, a little more fun than I had hosting, just because I was extremely passionate about some topics. I did have a Chiefs and 49ers teaser. I was a little bit, I was acting all tough in Trevor's DMs afterwards, saying I was never worried about the 49ers in the first half, but I'm not going to lie. I may or may not have chalked it up as an L at halftime, but it just goes to show you that this league is people are complaining about. People will always find a reason to complain about the Super Bowl no matter what. But this league has been fun for me this year, just because some unpredictable things, some kind of predictable things, and going back to what you said about Todd Monken. Patrick Mahomes is the best player we've seen at quarterback ever, and I've been through why I think that is. And I'm a Patriots fan, by the way. I got the posters behind me, and Tom Brady has made me cry tears of joy. But one of the reasons, one of the living examples of how Patrick Mahomes can mess up a whole team is the Ravens didn't run the ball against one of the worst run defenses in the NFL because they were hunting 20-yard plays in the first quarter. Patrick Mahomes was playing defense against the 49ers or against the Ravens strictly by the intimidation factor of him possibly putting up a 30-piece. The Chiefs ended up not scoring in the second half because the Ravens defense is just phenomenal. And it's a good transition into how I want to attack, this game from a pick'em standpoint. Shout out Toby in the chat, all the YouTube thumbnail guys around the world. Yes, sir. Shout out Anthony. We're going to get into some of these picks. We uploaded the Underdog Pick Generator for those of you who do have the DFS Dominator. We uploaded 10 picks this morning. Spoiler alert, I think for the first time maybe all season long, we have no less tans because I think we're both on the same page that, even if this game doesn't go over the 47.5-yard line, I think we'll see offenses have their moments where they can flourish in this game, and we'll dive into a little bit more about these individual matchups. Now, you can tail us once again using promo code Underworld and tail our picks. Trevor, start it off. How are we attacking this game?
So I'm going to start off on the KC side, and this is just simple math. One of the cool things Underdog added during the season was targets. So we can just go after volume. And we're going to start off with Travis Kelce. Right? Like, we've seen what he's done in the playoffs. If you hate the Taylor Swift stuff, you're just stupid. Like, I'm just going to say that. Like, she's great for the NFL. Like, she's bringing all kinds of women that would have never watched the NFL to watching it. Girls that would have never checked it out before. Like, it's good for the show. I get off your high horse about whatever you're going to say about it. Like, I don't care that they show her. Like, I actually think it's good for the NFL. I think it's bringing a ton of eyes to it. And if I owned an NFL team, I would love to have her bringing all those eyes to my team. But at the end of the day, right, we get to the playoffs and we have seen what, Kelce and Mahomes have done, right? Kelce has looked like the Kelce we expect him to look like every week. Kelce had 10 targets versus Miami. He had 11 last week versus the Ravens. And now they got to go play the very tough 49ers. We've shown vulnerability against tight ends. I mean, Laporta just put 997 up on us, right? Musgrove and Crap had 6 for like 70. So Kelce's going to be the target. And this is the spot. I don't want to have to worry about his yards. I don't have to worry about his touchdowns. I don't want to have to worry about whether he can catch the ball, right? I just want him to get thrown the ball. We know in this spot, the math says the over target for him is the play. So we're going to go over 9.5 targets for the higher. I think this is just, don't overthink it. We're in the Super Bowl. Just throw a fastball down the middle of the plate. That's what I'm kind of trying to do with this pick, because I'm going to take a different spot on the 49ers for my 2-pack. You saw what Ahaan did last week, and I've kind of done the same with players with a lot of these picks this season on my, on 3-packs and stuff that I'm doing besides the show. They have Elijah Mitchell, and he has his rush line is 3.5 yards now. Basically, does he play a couple snaps, right? Does he roll in for CMC? 100%. Shanahan is not going to do what the Ravens did. Shanahan is going to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, and they're going to run the ball down Casey's throat. Why? Because they allow 4.5 yards per carry, and they have CMC. And then when CMC needs a breather, they're going to bring in Elijah. You saw at the end of the game, right? Like CMC kind of landed on his neck funky. They didn't need to bang him up, and they just ran Mitchell at the end of the game, right? You can't have a fumble, you can't mess up, right? Like, they couldn't let Detroit back in the game. Elijah got the rock, so they're not scared to hand him the ball. He averaged 3.7 yards a carry this season when he did get to play. And I brought up earlier, I think a massive blow that's not getting talked about enough in this game is Charles being out. Ameniu being out that guy is an all-pro defensive lineman. And they're giving up 4.5 with him in. We see that Chris Jones is pretty gassed, right? We saw last game, like, he was having to come out because he was just out of breath, right? Like, I think this is a spot our line takes off, and we run it at him. And side note, DK just also added his rushing attempts. So seeing that they added that, I really like this. I think this ends up at like 6.5, 7.5 as we get closer to game time and we hear about stuff. And forbid anything happens to CMC, that this line is just right a million miles over the limit.
I really like the way you're attacking both of these, because someone brought up in the chat exactly what I was going to say, which is, how does Kyle Shanahan attempt to stop Patrick Mahomes? And they would be I was complaining in the first half about, as someone who wanted the Ravens to win that game from like a fan perspective, I was complaining in the first quarter about how they weren't making an effort to double team Travis Kelce, to blanket him in some way. They were letting him have one-on-one mismatches, especially on third down. Kyle Shanahan is better than that, and he's going to send doubles. And the reason I like this targets approach is he could have 10 targets and then not hit his receptions line so easily, just because they're going to try to get him involved if they can't get him going early. They won't go away from Travis Kelce. Andy Reid will find a way to get this man the football, but not all of them have to end in completions. They'll try some screen passes, maybe a couple errant throws, and you're still there. And as for Elijah Mitchell, you look at, you mentioned that DraftKings just put up a rush attempts line. Something I've been preaching all season long is Vegas doesn't know about efficiency as well as maybe we do with the resources. But Vegas absolutely has a clue about volume, oftentimes better than we do. And it's, it all started with me taking CMC rushing attempts, very early in the season, and then it losing by one in the weirdest way possible. And you look at Elijah Mitchell rushing attempts, like you said, and it's at 1.5. And of course, they put up a lot of things for the Super Bowl. But that being at 1.5 is interesting. Even if he gets one carry, I think against this Chiefs run defense, he can get these 4 yards. And it reminds me of last season, me taking Boston Scott's under on rush yards. So I love me a good backup running back in the Super Bowl. And so I tailed that 2-piece myself.
Yeah, it's right. We know Andy Reid's he's going to scheme Travis the ball. Like, they're going to be involved. And we're going to throw here. We just, right? Like, I think, again, I think this is a really good game. I think it actually probably goes over. Right? Our defense hasn't been great. The Niners don't have this. While we have players, it's just our secondary, right? We're missing Hufanga and we're banged up. But again, I think they're going to try to bracket Kelsey, know they got to cover, put Travarius on Rice, and then let old frying pan hands and Noah Gray and Justin Watson and Richie James, right? Those are the guys you want to have try to beat you. But how do you really do it? You keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. Ultimately, that I think is the plan, and it's what the Chiefs did to Baltimore last week that surprised me, showed it the most. They just said, we're not going to let Lamar beat us, right? They just had these long sustaining drives. So I think we're going to see a ton of that in this game again. And it should be a good chess match.
And it brings up a good point with what Toby said in the chat, that if they're going to bracket Kelsey, then it opens up opportunities for guys like Noah Gray, for guys like Richie James and Justin Watson. And I want to bring up, notice how Kadarius Toney props are not on sports books, except the touchdown, which some people probably take their shot at. But his props are not on sports books. His picks are not on the pick'em board. I will be shocked if he gets a look in this game. And you can clip that and post it all you want. If he has 3 catches, then at me, I guess. I would be shocked if he gets a look in this game. He is active, but he's been whining about the Chiefs lying on the injury reports. I believe him. I think they're lying about his injuries, and that they just don't want to see him step on a football field. Which, for that matter, it took them long enough to realize Mecole Hardman shouldn't get more than 1 snap, which is what he got last week. So it transitions into how I want to start my picks for this game. The 49ers play a little bit more to zone than league average. Jarvarius Ward is going to be matched up on the outside. Jarvarius Ward's been, this as well as I do. Jarvarius Ward been a little bit of a wild card this season. Sometimes he has great games. Sometimes he gets a pick. And then other games he can get absolutely burned. I'm not willing, with my nuts on the table, with half a unit that I want to throw on a 2-pick, to end the season. I'm trying to see a 2-piece green bean. I don't want to use that opportunity to try to guess who's going to eat, with Kelsey being bracketed. Obviously, Rashee Rice is the first choice, but he is priced as such. But here is one that I do think the line is off, and it's Patrick Mahomes higher on 25.5 rushing yards. This is a complete buy low, because in the last couple of games, he hasn't needed to run the ball all that much. But first off, clue in a little bit with this passing attempts line at 36.5, which it's high for a reason, and he might actually throw maybe 50 passes in this game, just because, you said it. The 49ers' weakness is their secondary, if anything, right? The run defense always going to be staunch. So where does Patrick Mahomes go if Kelsey sees doubles, if Rashee Rice can't beat his man? He's going to run the ball. He's hit this line in about half his games this season, and his rushing attempts line at most spots is sitting around 4.5, and he's hit this in in 80% of the games where he has at least 4 carries. He's hit this in 5 of 8 games when he faces a defense that ranks top 12 in pressure rate. Obviously, the 49ers, they rush the quarterback. This is what they do. They got Nick Bosa and company to rush the quarterback. some mobile quarterbacks against the 49ers have had success. And Patrick Mahomes always seems to just step it up in the playoffs when it comes to running the ball. And a joke I've made time and again when seeing Mahomes is it seems like every time Mahomes tucks the ball, he picks up a first down. And I'm not even exaggerating. He just knows when to use his athleticism. He just knows that he can convert a 3rd and 7 when he needs to. And he could do this in 2 or 3 carries. Against the Dolphins, I took this exact pick in the pick generator a couple weeks ago, and he hit this on 1 carry. So give me Patrick Mahomes higher than 25.5 rushing yards to start it off, especially if this Chiefs offensive line is going to continue not being perfect, which they haven't been perfect lately. And for the 49ers side, and I'm going to play it a little differently than how I normally play receivers because I love trying to catch the projection sleeping with efficiency. But I'm going to go to someone that both of us absolutely love, which is Brandon Ayuk. I sang praises about Brandon Ayuk on Wake and Take a few days ago. But I'm going to attack his higher on 4.5 receptions. And the simple reason is, one, I think the Chiefs are going to do everything they can to stop Christian McCaffrey. Steve Spagnuolo has been outstanding these playoffs, and it seems like every Super Bowl that Patrick Mahomes is going to win in his career, it's going to be a different guy credited other than Mahomes for that Super Bowl run. And if they win the Super Bowl, this is going to be the Steve Spagnuolo Super Bowl. So he's done a great job so far, and I've also happened to guess how he's going to game plan each time. And last week, I guessed that he was going to make sure Lamar doesn't become the elite runner that he could be. I was on his under on rushing yards. And here, I would assume that Steve Spagnuolo says, Christian McCaffrey, we have not a good run defense. Christian McCaffrey, you are not going to beat us single-handedly, and we're going to take our chances with Brock Purdy throwing the football. And Brock Purdy's been great this season, but I still think it would be smart of them to try to at least make Brock Purdy make a couple mistakes rather than let Christian McCaffrey run all over them. So I think Brandon Ayuk's going to see a lot of single coverage, and yes, the Chiefs' corners have been great, but that's exactly why I'm targeting the volume, no pun intended, targeting the volume instead of the efficiency. Because if you look at some of the bona fide wide receiver ones that have faced the Chiefs, they haven't necessarily had peak efficiency because the corners have played so well recently, but they've had the volume. Tyreek Hill, 8 catches for 62 yards. Devontae Adams, 5 catches, 73 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 catches, 71 yards. Garrett Wilson, 9 catches, 60 yards. Christian Watson, 7 catches, 71 yards. So I could completely see if the 49ers struggle on offense a little bit early, they realize sooner than they did last week, let's get our best receiver the ball, which is Brandon Ayuk, one of the best route runners in the NFL. They're going to force feed him the ball, seeing that he has single coverage. I could completely see a 6-catch, 50-yard outing for him. So give me Brandon Ayuk higher than 4.5 receptions.
I like it.
Let's take a look at chat real quick. Blake Bell touchdown call from Anthony. Blake, or not Blake, I'm calling you Blake. Anthony, I absolutely love you looking at the backup tight ends. I have a feeling that at least one of the backup tight ends, either Blake Bell or Noah Gray, are going to make a huge play in this game. I may or may not be sprinkling something absurdly long shotty on one of these backup tight ends. I could see it. It's probably going to be Noah Gray. He's the one guaranteed to get some looks. I don't know about Blake Bell, but I like the idea there. And the 49ers, like you said, do play a lot of zone, so I can see it. Trevor, we're about to get into this 5-pick, though. It's the first time we've done a collab since we had the Thursday night football shows, so I'm excited. We're due for one of these. I'll let you start it off. Once again, I do want to remind people you can pick anywhere between 2 to 5 picks on an underdog entry, and once we're going to have 5 for you, and you can place an insured entry, which means the total payout will be less if you hit all 5, but you will still profit if you get 4 out of 5. Or you could do standard and you can get a full payout for 5, but you have to hit all 5. I'm predicting we hit all 5, but I'm probably going to insure it because I'm soft. Anyway, Trevor, go ahead.
I'm not insuring it.
Yeah.
0 chance I'm insuring it. 0.
Great.
All right. So you heard Ahaan bring up. I agree with everything he said. He broke it down well. I like how to attack it. And he just talked about this earlier. We're going to go with Patrick Mahomes over 36.5 passing attempts. Right. He got this last game. Again, I think he's going to have 40 plus. They're right. They'll run angry Pacheco a little bit, but ultimately they're going to throw the ball. I think it's going to be a competitive game. And I think that's the way they'll choose to attack Steve Wilks here. I really can't break it down any better than you did. So I'll let you run with that. The next one we're going to go to is Jawan Jennings. He is the wide receiver 3, him and Kittle, or one's a tight end, one's a wide receiver. They're both getting looks. We're going higher than 1.5 receptions here. He's right. We saw that ridiculous catch he made, like that one-handed back across, but they're using him over the middle. They're going to run him. And if they're trying to focus on Debo and IU, Jennings is just going to crush in this game, right? There's a chance Jawan has a touchdown or 2 in this game. If they're really just all over Ayuk and Debo and really, Spags is trying to shut them down, they have shown they're not afraid to go to Jawan. Purdy obviously has a connection with him. It's kind of been crystal clear. So this is one, I don't want to overthink it. I just want to keep it short and simple. And our pick that we both love, that we have some sneaky stuff on, got something added to it that I like even better. So, the fix is in, and we got to go to Juice, right? He has 4.5 rush plus receiving yards. Who's to say, right? They're going to, it's 1 yard, right? It's 1 yard. This is a game Juice is going to get used, right? And if you're a conspiracy theorist, let's have a conspiracy theory question, right? Christine Usyk just signed her deal. She's got Taylor Swift wearing her gear. The NFL wants to go after all that women's clothing money because 3/4 of the stuff they make sucks, right? She signed her deal, get Juice involved. But you saw last week, Juice is a tight end when he's coming out of the backfield, right? They're going to use him like a tight end. They're going to get him open. And this is go look at the big games. When it's a big game, they trust him. They 100% trust him. And we thought we were just going to have to take the receiving yards. They gave us the rush. This is an easy one. Hey, 3rd and 1. They might just run a quick dive, right? Hurry up, get to the line. And what if Juice breaks it, right? This gives us multiple ways to get there. And this is one of the reasons I'm not insuring it.
The juice is loose. Oh my God. I mean, one of the reasons I didn't want to take Juszczyk straight was because I didn't want to have to guess if he's running a route or if he's carrying the ball for 5 yards. I'm so happy we got this instead. I mean, this is awesome.
I feel like we're owed this. This is we took a lot of hooks this year.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a gift to us.
Yeah, we absolutely need it. I'm going to finish out this entry. Here's one that you can stack with the Mahomes passing attempts. If he's throwing 40 passes, you know what he's also going to have to do is he's going to have to check the ball down because Travis Kelce's not going to be open every play. Give me Isaiah Pacheco. This is just a very simple look here. You look at his receptions, and it's a spicy pick if you want to take his receptions. But the 49ers have been around middle of the pack in terms of tackling, players out of the backfield. Yards per reception allowed to running back, stuff like that. So I think he can get this on 2 or 3 catches, but I'm taking his higher on 17.5 receiving yards. You look at the volume he's had every time the game has stayed close. The Jets, a team with a great pass rush, great secondary, and what was the result? 3 receptions, 43 yards. Broncos, when they played a competitive game at home and the Broncos kind of gave them a scare early in the game, 6 catches, 36 yards. Cincinnati, another competitive game, 7 receptions, 35 yards. The Raiders, which ended up being a blowout, but the Chiefs were down in that game multiple possessions when they played in Las Vegas last against the Raiders. 5 receptions, 34 yards, because that was a competitive game for 3 quarters. Week 1, that was without Kelce, yes, but you will also see that Kelce will not be open every play. Week 1, 4 receptions, 31 yards. They faced the Chargers 4 for 28. The Bears, that was a blowout, and he still had 2 for 16. And you look at every one of those teams that they played, and they're all teams that are capable defensively. So all tying back to the reason I thought the Chiefs wouldn't be here in the first place, which is their receiving core is just not good. It's Kelsey, it's Rashee Rice, and then who knows who's going to play decently that day. So I'm going to take one of the few good players on this offense, take him, take Patrick Mahomes to find him. And the great thing about this is I'm very confident about the Patrick Mahomes rushing because I think he will have to and will make the necessary moves. I mean, by the way, last year's Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes was playing on one foot and he ran berserk. So just bringing that up once again, we forget how athletic Patrick Mahomes could be. But the great thing about this is every time someone's covered downfield, which will happen a lot because this receiving core is not great, one of two things is happening. Mahomes is checking the ball down or he's rushing. And either way, I'm really happy about that result. So I'm stacking Mahomes with Pacheco. And then to close it out, I'm going back to the 49ers side. And this is just, one of those plays like, if it loses, I will be happy with the result. I will be, or I might not be happy with the result, but I'll be happy with the process. This pick will not be on the board next week because it's minus 140 on the sports books. It's Brock Purdy higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. You might ask, why is this juiced on sports books if he hasn't hit this the last few games? Well, that's because passing touchdowns or whoever's getting those touchdowns, it's so noisy, right? That's why betting touchdowns is so hard because it's a noisy thing. Receiving volume, rushing volume, those are predictable. Efficiency is predictable, but passing touchdowns, that's volatile. When they get to the red zone, ask yourself, why is Christian McCaffrey only like minus 200 to minus 250 on the sportsbooks to score a touchdown when he's been literally minus 350 to minus 400 all season long, including last week when he was minus 350 against the Lions for a good run defense? Why is he shorter in this game? And it's just going back to what I think the game plan is going to be, which is anybody but Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy, I think, is going to find the answers to that. This is a great receiving core, much better than the Chiefs' receiving core. You got Brandon Ayuk, you got Deebo Samuel, who looked like he wasn't even hurt last week, and of course Jawan Jennings. And I think both of us will be thrilled if we can get a touchdown to Kyle Juszczyk. But I'm not going to try to guess who's going to score the touchdown. I'm not going to get spicy with it. Give me Brock Purdy higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, Anthony, nobody thinks nobody's on the. I don't think anybody thinks the Chiefs defense is underrated. They haven't given up 20 points in forever. It's not that. It's they have some injuries. I think that's going to be a big. I think that's a big deal. Just Gay, Amanu, they're just. You got to be healthy, right? I've said it all season. If we're healthy, we're in a good spot. So we like it. And I think we're going to end the season on a clean sweep. I don't think it. I know it.
Anthony, I completely agree with the fact that the Chiefs defense was underrated at a certain point, just because I certainly thought the Chiefs wouldn't be here. One of the reasons was the receiving core, but also they couldn't stop the run to save their life. And their cornerbacks have just stepped up at the best possible time. But yeah, people have caught up now that the Chiefs defense is great. And I mentioned this on Wake and Take, but the 49ers have the better offensive system in place. The 49ers have the better, I think the better, pass rush, but the cornerbacks, you could argue the Chiefs are playing better right now. As an overall team, a coaching standpoint, literally everything you want a Super Bowl roster to look like, I think the 49ers have the edge here. But at the same time, one of these teams has the best player of all time, and that's going to keep this game close. I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl. It's going to be a classic. Maybe not the same way as last time. Maybe won't be the shootout. But I think we're going to get a great Super Bowl. I think you'll see complaints on Twitter about the Super Bowl not being great, but I think it's going to be great. And it's why I think, we ended up not having any lowers here because it's going to be a competitive game and the playmaker is going to have to make plays. And if it's not a competitive game, then we're screwed. But I will go to the grave, betting on this to be a competitive game. And I think we will get one. Toby says, is there higher for Donovan Smith holding calls? I mean, Nick Bosa wants there to be for sure.
I mean, well, it's true though. Nothing he said was wrong about that. If you watch the tape, right? Go watch the tape on what they're doing, and it's factual. It's what they do, and they do it a lot. One of the things that I saw though is Vinovich is ref though. So he's Vinovich is kind of known as an under ref. But I think this is one that it's just too good of offenses and too good of offensive minds. I think the defenses on who makes a couple plays is what the difference is going to be. But I think this could turn into like a Bills Chiefs type of game where they're just slinging it back and forth. And it's, really who ends up with the ball at the end, who makes less mistakes. And I think we're a little healthier. And of course I'm biased. So I am a lifelong 49er fan. I am our boat parade. That's actually pretty funny, Toby. But yeah, they're, they also have some injuries, some rough injuries, on top of that, you have guys that are, questionable for them. Let me pull this up here. I was looking today. They got Chris Jones on there now. Who else did they have? They put
Juwan Taylor false start overs. Oh, yeah, give me flashbacks to last year's Super Bowl, Anthony.
Yeah, and then Thuney's pec, right? So Thuney's got that pec strain. So it's just I think health's going to matter in this game, and I'm not I can't call Mahomes the GOAT yet. I think he's getting there. I mean, what he's done is an unbelievable start. He's got to keep going for me. He just hasn't, as crazy as it sounds, he just hasn't done it long enough yet. But I will say this year is the most impressive year for me because he has done it with a trash wide receiving core. If Rice doesn't step up, I don't think they're here, right? If they don't hit on Rice, I just don't think they're here. There's just, fortunately they do. They develop a rapport with them. But I'm excited. I want to say thank you to everybody at PlayerProfiler for having us all season. Thank you most importantly to everybody that tuned in and watched us and has come to the shows every week. I genuinely appreciate it. And I'm excited to go sweat the Super Bowl. And sorry for that 6 hours of Twitter that day. I will be completely unfollowable if you don't like the 49ers.
Those were our 9 picks for the Super Bowl, for Super Bowl 58. I got a text about the script, and it looks like we just went 9-0. But we could watch the game play out if we really want to. I certainly will be watching. Hope everybody has a great 1 week, making Super Bowl picks. We will be in the Discord, chatting it up with y'all if you want to talk about some entries. I'm a degenerate. I mean, I have bankroll. I'm going to probably place a couple more long shots just in case. Yeah. I might place an all lowers just for fun on something if I can find some spots I want to fade. So I'll drop my entries in the Discord throughout the next 1 week or so. Trevor, it has been an absolute pleasure having you as a co-host. I haven't co-hosted a podcast ever before, and you're the perfect person. Our vibe, from whether or not we agree on things, the vibe has always been there. When we disagree on things, it's exciting, and when we agree on things, we banter and chat. And it's been an amazing season with you. And I'm in a position where I profit whether or not the 49ers win the Super Bowl, but I hope this is a great game for all of us.
I do have a San Francisco beats KC future at almost plus 600. So I'll say this right now, there is zero chance I'm fucking hedging. So I don't even want the unit back. I don't even want the unit I got bet on it back. I'm not hedging. It's just too much value, right? The Niners are minus 130. I got it at almost plus 600. It's there. And then I will say, hey guys, I'm doing some fun stuff. I'm doing 12 days of Propmas. I'm going to have some wild stuff out there. I've given out a Gatorade prop. We're going to have a national anthem prop. I'm going to get funky and wild here. I kind of did a boring one today because I got some kind of wild, unique stuff starting tomorrow. We're going to get real weird. This is my favorite time to do it. And it's all, unit, quarter unit bets. We're not going to get crazy on the unit size, but it's stuff fun to sweat out. And, if you're following us on social, you know why we went with Juszczyk and what we think of him this week.
Absolutely. And if you want content from us, for some reason you haven't seen enough of us or heard enough from us, both Trevor and I big into baseball, so we'll have baseball content throughout the season as well after the Super Bowl. Literally the morning after the Super Bowl, I'm getting in the lab for MLB futures. I mean, it's just going to happen. So you can follow Trevor at FFCU later, and you can follow me at Ahaan Rungta. But the job's not finished. We will see. Well, we actually won't see you guys, but we'll see you guys in the Discord after we go 9-0 in Super Bowl 58.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.